I think what people don't realize is that in an ice-adapted ecosystem, of course, humans are part of that ecosystem, and everything, polar bear, walrus, whale, seal, eider duck, Arctic fox, they're all part of this same tiny ecosystem. There's just only a few elements in it, really, because not much can live at the top of the world. And so one tiny change in the weather impacts everybody very quickly. And not only do traditions come apart, but then it becomes a sort of life and death situation of who has enough to eat and where do they live when the storms start causing coastal erosion and villages fall in the water. So there's all sorts of things happen on every level.
And you've now traveled all around the Arctic talking to people in communities that have been affected by change. And you're seeing this effect everywhere around the Arctic.
It's really dramatic. I started traveling in the Arctic in 1991. So I experienced the ice in winter and spring, the seasonal sea ice, which this is a long season. It starts in September and ends in June. Used to be like 10 to 14 feet thick. Now the sea ice is 7 inches thick. That's how much has changed since 1991. That's really fast. So now sea ice on which they travel and hunt in Alaska, they hunt in skin boats for bowhead whales. In Greenland, they hunt with dog sleds. The ice is their highway. The ice is also the ecosystem in which marine mammals and polar bears, the terrestrial animals, exist. Even in the middle of winter when it's 30 below zero, there's hardly any ice at all. So what used to be a 9-month season for hunting is now 2 or 3 months at best, and they're not consecutive days. So those were marine mammal hunters that used to go out for a month at a time in big family groups. They just lived out on the ice, and now they're just hardly out at all. Many of the hunters in Greenland are having to shoot their sled dogs because they simply don't have the food for them. So you know, when that starts to happen, well, the next things that go hungry are humans. So things come apart in the natural world very quickly. And what people don't understand about the Arctic, this isn't just about those other people, those Eskimos that have nothing to do with us. The Arctic drives the climate of the whole globe. It's our natural air conditioner. It sequesters 25% of all the carbon dioxide in the world because the ice and snow radiates solar heat back into space. And so it keeps the rest of our temperate latitudes cool and livable. So when that ice goes and it's open water, the open ocean is a heat sink. And so right away, exponentially, the global temperature rises, and it keeps rising. Any place in the ice where there's just a big gap, a big lead in the ice, what you'll see in the spring is that it creates water vapor that comes up and forms a cloud of mist over the open water, and that itself keeps the water from underneath from getting colder again, and so the ice can no longer form there. So the open water creates more open water. And those are the kinds of positive feedback situations that are just stacking up in the Arctic and makes it really scary. We also, we need to find a way to become better citizens of the planet and not to be human-centric. Because, we've been demoted from the ownership of the world. That was an illusion that is now showing itself to be very detrimental and absurd. So we need to see ourselves as equals with all the other sentient beings on the planet, and to find ways to be co-residents rather than domineering. I won't say the word. And this is hard for people who don't live out in the boonies like I do, but it's everywhere. You know, there's trees and plants and birds, and it's everywhere around us. We are animals, we are nature. We have to really embody that. And then the world, as they say in Africa, the world will tell you the truth if you listen. The land or the ice will tell you the truth if you listen. And if you don't, the wrathful gods of the weather and the power of nature will show its wrath, which I think is happening here. You know, we think we're not being affected by climate change, but the storms we're having in the southeast of this country are totally created by a changing climate. There's more water vapor. The climate is a complex sort of mechanism, but it doesn't take very much reading to figure out that how sensitive this planet is and how careful we have to be.